Well, good morning, everyone. Happy week 7 and happy Monday. I hope you're doing well. I can't believe we're already at week 7 and getting ready to move into fall too, but here we are. I hope you're enjoying everything that you're leading and learning in servant leadership. I've enjoyed reading your work, your discussion boards. You're a very thoughtful cohort, and I've really just enjoyed reading your reflections. Before I get started in my instructor video, I want to remind you that the deadline this week is Thursday, not Sunday, for your assignments. So just make sure that you turn in your work for your assignment on Thursday. So if you go to assignments in the assignment tab, and if you click on the one that is due this week, which is your servant leader skills analysis, submit assignment number 4, you're going to see in a reddish color note for this assignment you will submit on Thursday on or before 11:59 p.m. PST. This assignment is due in 2 places, 1 here in the submit assignments drop box and 2 in the week 7 DB. So make sure that you don't forget. I would put it on your calendar right now that it is due on Thursday. And then this week's topics are leading with wisdom and honor, power of a growth mindset as a leader, actions speak louder than words. And you're going to be reading chapter 20 from your learning leadership book. And then you're going to be looking at 2 very quick pieces, 10 golden rules of leadership, classical wisdom for modern leaders, and leading with honor. Do you have what it takes? And then you're going to be watching the clip, Drew Dudley's TED Talk, Redefining Leadership, which I absolutely love. It's only 6 minutes long, and his personality is just, his joy is just infectious. And he talks about lollipop moments. And I'm going to tell you about a couple of mine. That changed my life, massively changed my life. And and that's what I love about his clip is he talks about how we can do these small things for people, just these small moments in time of kindness, of being present, of just being there for someone that can change things for them astronomically, and that many times we don't go back to these people and tell them how important they were to us or how valuable they were to us or how this one thing they said or did changed our whole trajectory. And I'm going to tell you one from high school and one from when I was an adult. So when I was in high school, I was a troublemaker and a rebel rouser. No professor would, but I was. And I was, 16 years old and thought I knew it all. And just not fitting in very well at high school at that time. And in fact, I ended up graduating high school at 16 and starting college, which was a much better fit for me. But at the time, I was still struggling with that decision and trying to figure out how to fit in at high school. And I had 2 teachers, Mr. Higgins and Mr. Randall. Mr. Randall was my theater teacher, and Mr. Higgins was my driver's ed health teacher. And those were the 2 classes that I really enjoyed going to and really enjoyed them as people and really felt seen by those people. And I was struggling. I was struggling with some of my other classes. I was struggling with going to school. And Mr. Higgins and Mr. Randall, I guess, were talking about me one day in the teacher's lunchroom, and they both came to the conclusion that they weren't worried about me because I was smart and they knew that I was going to be successful and that they were just going to be present for me. And hang on, the light shining in from the curtain. And they were just going to be there for me and keep trying to, lead me in the right direction. And so one day when I showed up back in class, back in school, Mr. Higgins and Mr. Randall, Mr. Higgins took me aside and told me about this conversation and said that he was always there for me. He always knew that I was going to do something exceptional with my life. And I held that. I held that as I traveled on my journey. And when I became an educator, one of my first years that I was an educator, Mr. Higgins was retired and he was substituting. He used to wear this hat with this big feather that stuck out of it. He was actually a really well-known water polo player for UCLA, Spud Higgins. You can look him up. And he walked by my classroom and I had all of my sixth graders, doing what they were supposed to be doing. And I was in my teacher ensemble. And he walked in and destroyed my class, telling them about who I had been in high school and how rowdy I had been. And it was a great moment. And he said again, after all those years, to those students, that he always knew that I would be okay. And so, at the end of the school day, when we were both finishing up, I had the opportunity to tell him how I carried that with me and how that changed things for me and made me feel like I could go on in education because of him. And later on, when I was back teaching at the school where I had learned from him, he was subbing there, and I told him again and shared it with everybody, and he was so chuffed that I shared it. And so that was very important to me. The second one was Walter Dean Myers. If you're not familiar with Walter Dean Myers, he's passed away now, but he's a young adult, middle-aged book writer, very well known, has won many awards, written over 100 books. And when I was getting into professional writing in my early 30s, like I was really getting serious about my writing, I ran into him at a convention with thousands of people. And I walked up to the table. And of course, I was already a teacher at that time and admired his work greatly. So I said how much I admired his work greatly and that I had just started working on my first book, and that, I was just trying to figure it out, and that, I really looked at his work for inspiration and, admired him. He put a timeout sign on the table. He put a timeout sign on the table, and he told this whole line of people that he would be back in an hour. And he asked me to follow him, and I was like, oh my goodness. And took me over to a small conference room where no events were happening at that time and sat down with me, and he said, let's outline that book. And I was just stunned, and it meant so much to me. And we sat and we outlined the entire book together. And he showed me, what he did when he was crafting, when he was working, and then gave me his email and said if I needed him to let me know. He knew nothing about me, nothing about my work. He just took that moment and he saw a new writer coming up in the field, and he embraced it. And when I got my first agent, Walter was actually the first person that I contacted and thanked. And I'm always glad I did, because he passed a little earlier than expected. And I actually just wrote a message again to his family, saying how much it meant to me and how he really, helped me to continue on my path, as a professional writer. So those are my lollipop moments. There's many, many more. But the whole point is that those simple moments of kindness, those simple moments where people took the initiative to lead in a very gentle, joyous, kind way, it only took moments of their time, changed everything for me. And you have done the same, and you need to continue to do the same. And that's what Drew's saying, is that we never know what little small act of leadership, kindness, joy will change somebody's path, their trajectory in life. And to make sure, if you can, to tell them, to go back and tell them if possible. And I'm very thankful that I was able to go back and tell mine. So something to think about with leadership. The next thing that I want to talk about is growth mindset. And I've brought this up a lot in my videos, and I'm bringing it up again. We have to keep a growth mindset as we move through our career, as we move through our relationships, as we move through life, as we age. And it's not easy in the field that we're in always to have growth mindset. Our field is still an authoritarian field. It's still filled with ego surrounded to intelligence. We don't like when we feel that somebody might be talking down to us, or acting as if we don't aren't as smart as we are. We don't like when people challenge us when we're in an authoritarian field, and so we have to work to step back from that all the time. Um, I have spent my entire life. I'm a big reactor, and I grew up in a family with big reactions, and it's most of the time very easy for me to lead with children and young people. I love my children and young people. And every once in a while, though, I will have a student that will challenge me in a way that I'm like, "Whoa, whoa," and I have to constantly practice stepping back from that moment and acting instead of reacting, taking a beat before I react, making sure that the authoritarian doesn't come out immediately. Because just as we can have a lollipop moment and change someone in a very quick moment, we can also, in a moment, change the way people feel about educators and education, young people. And we want them to, embrace the school experience and have people that they can embrace this school experience with. I think for me, the harder time I have with growth mindset is oftentimes with colleagues. And that's more, and I'm talking about back in my public education job, people who are unwilling to try new things, to look at the way they're teaching, to see if maybe they need to change it. This is of all ages. And that's something that always stands out to me, really but peeves me too, is when people are ageist. Like, oh, well, that person's been teaching for 30 years or they're such and such age, so that's why they're not changing. No, I see this with young people too. I see this with people in all periods of their educational career, people that are unwilling to step back from ego and have growth mindset and consider things like saying, hey, you know what, maybe you're right. Or, you know what, let me take a beat on that. I'm having a really strong feeling or reaction. I need to think about that. I need to think about why that's hitting me that way. Or can you unpack that for me? Those types of things. Learning to talk to people one on one, not emails, not text messages. Not that there's anything wrong with communicating that way, but when you're having these heavy conversations, especially related to growth mindset, better to have those conversations in the right location. And so those are all things that I want you to consider, as you're moving through as leaders in school. Uh, if somebody's not doing something for you, are they doing it out of malice, or is something going on? Or are when you're not willing to do something, what's going on? You have to look at those things. So I'm already at 13 minutes, so I'm going to stop here. But just remember, when we think about those things and leading with honor and wisdom, remember, you can be smart and not have wisdom. So you want to have both. And honor, it's just remembering, if you're going to talk the talk, walk the walk. You can't expect people to do things that you're not doing yourself, behaving with integrity. So there you go. All right. Okay. Don't forget, deadline this Thursday. And just a little doorknob moment here. Thursday at 11 p.m., I will be flying off to China with Dr. Kim and other colleagues from Concordia University. We are going to meet educators over in China at the college level, the high school level, the kindergarten level. Very excited about it. So if you try to get hold of me Thursday night, I won't be responding to you at 11 p.m. as I'm flying to Shanghai, but I will be to you as soon as I get there if you need me. Okay? All right. Be well. Bye bye.